We're live, alive. I was watching a YouTube clip from what's going on in France, and it seems to me that it's pretty clear that this is anarchy. I think probably clear to everybody it's anarchy, what's going on in France. It's coming from a place of complete broken people who are not taking responsibility for their lives and feel that it's the state that is at fault. Now, there's no question that, governments have responsibility for their citizens, and they need to be held accountable for it. But anarchy is an excuse for not making your life a better life. It's an excuse. Because in the end, if you don't take care of yourself and make certain that your life is progressing, no one's going to help you. No government. And as a matter of fact, when the government will help, because of the feeling of, that they're responsible to make your life, good, no, they can help and support, but they can't make it for you. And I think that the sentiment today is we're victims, or some people feel they're victims, I'm not, but they're victims, and therefore, we're going to get you back. That's what's going on in France. That's what's going on in so many different communities. This sense of victimhood, and that needs to change. And instead of making them a bigger victim, throw them more money, throw them the more services, more things. No, throw them more an awakening to the truth. Education. Educate them. Not with victimhood, but of total responsibility for your life. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Zechem Kedoshim. Welcome you to Tanya today. And we welcome Michael in Germany, Brett is in Pennsylvania, John in North Carolina, Davida and Liba in New York, Roxy is in New Jersey, Joseph also New Jersey, and Rabbi is in Morocco. And who else is joining us? Standing is in London, England, preparing for Shabbos. Rena in Colorado. Leah, who else is here? Elise in West Virginia. Cindy in Florida. Tim in Texas. Dana, you have to remind me. Mark in California. Julia is in Pennsylvania. Vincent in Alberta. All right. Got an Albertan from a fellow Canadian. Okay, Dan in Washington. That's it. Correct. Corrected. I corrected my mind. Denise in New Jersey. Eleanor in the Netherlands. Wonderful. Who else do we have with us? Diane in Arizona. We've got Celeste, we got Michael Vilma. Welcome back. Maya. Clubhousers. We've got Instagrammers. We've got Bella in New York. Jersey in New Jersey. From Brazil, we have Luz. Can't make out another name over here. Akoy in Peru. Rachel, South Carolina. Hamid in Montreal. Natalie in London. Suzanne. We have Alice in Baltimore. We have Zara in Malaysia. Sarah in Sweden. All right, beautiful. There's the top of the rope and the bottom of the rope. Top of the rope is the way our divine soul is in its source, in being a part of God. Then God blows that part of our divine soul into the body. Right here. Blows it. Doesn't talk it. I mean, he talks it in the sense that he says, let us make man, and the physical reality, but the soul proper itself is a part of God, just as the breath is a part of the individual, and it comes from the deeper part, because blowing takes more of an exertion. So that's the metaphor we are understanding on how we have a piece of the divine in us. However, we can cut the rope and cut that connection, because a breath can have an obstacle. My voice doesn't have an obstacle. You hear me whether I have it, my hands up in front of me or not. But my breath, it's okay. They're clean. I mean, a clean breath, good breath. And the obstacle doesn't allow it to get beyond. How could we say any obstacle that there is of God, that he can't be somewhere? He's everywhere. There's no place void of him, except when we do a sin. When we do a sin, when we go against the divine will, the divine flow of energy that gives us vitality, gives us existence, right? The divine flow through God's name, it can be severed. This rope that's made of 613 strands of the 613 commandments can be weakened by not doing a commandment, can be severed by doing something severe. And therefore, you don't get the breath of life. And as a result, there can be the early passing from this world. Excision. Excision means cut off. Well, here's the metaphor. You're cut off because you cut the rope, cut the connection, cut the vibrancy of that breath, because of the obstacle that we create of not being connected to the divine will, not following the divine will. This reality, though, continuing on this thought in chapter 6, this reality only existed when the Jewish people were in a very elevated state. What's an elevated state? The divine presence of God dwelt amongst Israel. Where? In the Beis Hamikdash, in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. Then, at that time, the body received vitality only through the divine soul, which is the innermost level of power, of vitality, that gave life through the tetragrammaton, right? This is the innermost part of our being. And this is the name of God that's a part of us. So that's what gave life. That's what gave existence. That was the default, was the name of God that gave vitality and give us the capability of existing. But if we cut it off, that connection, then we don't get the vitality from there anymore. And therefore, in the times of the Holy Temple, premature death, because of certain sins, happened then. But today is a different reality. Today, the divine presence of God, called the Shekhinah, which is a feminine form of the divine, fell from its lofty state of being. Through our actions, now the divine presence is in exile. This is what the verse says in Isaiah. Through your sins, your mother was banished. Mother? We speak about God as Father, right? Well, God is Father, He's Mother. But this is Mother because we're talking about the Shekhinah. Shekhinah is feminine. Right? Malchus of Atzilus. It's a feminine quality of the divine. The Mother was, right, banished. Her presence is no longer palpably there, concealed. Banished doesn't mean gone for good. It just means not revealed. Right? And this is what it means. The divine presence, the feminine, the latter hay in God's name is Malchus, which was royalty. Royalty, the feminine quality of royalty, the feminine quality of royalty, the speech, that God brings everything into existence through his speech, as a king rules and a queen through their word. That's the feminine quality of royalty. That has fallen off. This latter hay is no longer connected to its source, or to its other letters, to the essence of God. As we fall out of favor, the divine name falls out of favor. Right? What does that mean? It means that latter hay in God's name has been lowered. Where has it gone to? It's gone to the 10 spheres of Noiga. Noiga means a translucent form of, metaphorically, is a mixture of good and bad. In other words, in the times of the Holy Temple, there was only direct connection of God's holiness, which is all good. Any bad can be mixed in with it, cut off. Once the bad is bad enough, there's an excision, there's a cutting off, premature death from heaven. But now the reality is different. That the Malchus, the divine presence of God, has fallen down into Noiga, to the admixture of good and bad. And therefore, we get our vitality from that place today. Not direct anymore, right? But from there. All of the world gets it from there, including the soul, or rather our physical reality, getting our life from there. And this is the idea where our sages say there's no blade of grass below that has no spirit, meaning a quality of something divine above that makes it grow, right? Meaning, where's the growth coming from? It's coming from God, but it's not coming from his holiness, it's coming from Noiga, the admixture of good and evil. Now, it's not pure good, the growth of grass, or for that matter, our reality right now. Therefore, even something sinful today that's deliberate, right, that a Jew does, can still get their vitality, as all other living creatures do, as a blade of grass does, as an animal does, right? And that's why the verse says that we are likened and similar to beasts. And actually, on the contrary, we're worse than the beast. Because the beast is getting from Noiga, from this admixture of good and evil, not directly from God's divine presence and holiness that's been concealed, that's been fallen down a notch, right? Has been contracted upon. It's now in a state of exile. So not only are we like the animal that it gets from Noiga, but we actually get more of it from Noiga. We're worse than the animal. because we had a choice where to get our nurturing, our vitality from. The animal has no choice. The vitality is going to come from noiga. It's going to come from the admixture of good and evil. It has no choice. But we, on the other hand, we have a choice where we derive our vitality, where we derive our nurturing from. Is it going to be from Sitra Achar, the other side? Or is it going to be from holiness? That's right. And as God, what he did, he made one opposite the other. Only for us. Not for the rest of creation. So the Sitra Achar, the negative side, it derives its vitality. Negative here means completely negative. It derives its vitality from the admixture of good and evil, of noiga. Right? So we have the divine presence, which is the latter hay of God's name. It falls from the name into noiga. The noiga becomes then the source of vitality for everything, except for what we choose in our personal lives, right? But everything else of creation isn't that way. Everything else of creation isn't holy, and therefore it's getting from noiga. Now, when we choose, because we have the choice of getting from noiga, when we choose that, then we're bringing it down a further level, then that's called Sitra Achar, the other side, that's complete negativity. A klipa of good and bad, that, right? And this is the whole concept. Where does this all begin, this concept? This is not a new concept now, because this is the idea of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden with the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The difference is that in the Garden of Eden, everything was holy. Just like the holy temple, the Garden of Eden, everything was holy. So likewise, in the Holy Land, in Jerusalem, the presence of God was palpable, was real. Everything is, you get your vitality direct, as Adam and Eve did in the garden. Except there was one place in the garden that was an admixture of good and evil, and that was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's why God said, don't eat from it, because then you'll know that. And once you know that, you create now a different reality in the world. And after that, so yes, all vegetation, all trees are going to be an admixture of good and evil. It wasn't that way in the garden. In the garden, there was only one tree. The rest of the garden was complete holiness, meaning the divine presence was present, was revealed, was clear, that it was a manifestation of mere godliness. And of course, the serpent, right, the Nachash, was the embodiment of Sitra Achar, complete evil, of Sholish Kalifas Atmez, of complete three unholy, right, that has no vestige of good in it. That's what he was the embodiment of. The difference is that you could point to it. Today, the world's all mixed up. You can't point. Oh, there it is. Not so clear, because holiness was clear where it is. Noiga was clear where it was in a tree. And complete evil was very apparent and clear in the embodiment of the Nachash, of the snake. Today, it's all mixed together. That's called exile. That's where we live now. In that exile, we get a choice. In the times of the Holy Temple, in times of the Garden of Eden, there was no choice. Don't eat from that tree. You do, you're banished. Now I understand. It makes sense you're banished. Well, because you created now a different reality. You're mixing the world with good and evil. The same thing as what it means the Holy Temple. We were banished from there, exiled. What does it mean? It means a world in the Holy Temple, in Israel, of where holiness is direct, clear, open, revealed. Banished means no longer that's our reality. So we don't get it direct. We have to choose now to get it direct. In other words, right now, learning Torah, in understanding that what you could have done is do something else. You could eat breakfast just to enjoy yourself. Could have eaten breakfast just to, you want to enjoy life. You can just sit back. But you chose to learn Tanya right now. It means you chose to get your vitality direct from God's holiness. When you choose to take some money and to give it to charity. So you're choosing to use now that which is of noiga, an admixture of good and evil, money, right? And you're choosing now to, through the act of giving, to get your vitality direct from God's holiness. Likewise throughout the day and all the things we do. Which, by the way, could even be your eating a breakfast could be done that way. That you choose that you want through this act to get your vitality through direct from God's divine presence, His holiness, from the Shekhinah. And not through nega. Or not by being debased. That's a very powerful thing to live with. That we have that choice. Now the consequence of this, we will learn in the next class what that means. This presents us with something awesome that is particular for our times of exile. And that's a concept of tshuva. But we're not going to go there now because that's forthcoming. But hey, keep you on the edge of the seat. So you come back for more because there's so much more. Any questions, any comments? Actually, Denise, thank you for the statement that you made here. She says, powerful, making our choices with proper intention. In other words, choice, what choice means over here, and really this is the only choice in life, the only real choice in life, let me say. Others are fictitious choices. Whether you're going to do something and you chose to, like just to, I don't know, you're itchy and you scratch yourself. Oh, my head's itchy. Oh, I'm itchy, I'm scratching. I chose to, no, you didn't choose to scratch yourself. You are such a, your makeup is in such a way and this and that. You didn't really choose. You think you chose. It's your nature. Likewise, that was an extreme example. Anything that we do that is just naturally doing, because that's my natural, ordinary being, so to speak, meaning my natural inclination. So not really choosing. Not really choosing. The only choice is to get vitality direct from God or not, or to get it from a non-holy place. So when you think about that whatever you're doing, whatever you're thinking, speaking, and doing, you have a choice of where that vitality is going to come from. That's true freedom. That's the only freedom. And where do you want to get life from? And therefore, when you think negative, you have a nasty thought in your mouth, in your head, of a loved one. You say something that's hurtful to somebody. to get back at them because they hurt you, or you do something that's not appropriate, like for a Jew to eat not kosher, right? We can think at those moments, I could act divine now. Not just act divine, but get my vitality from the divine. Well, the only way I can get vitality from the divine is when the food is kosher. I make a blessing on it. I'm recognize that this food is there to give me strength so I could do good. I could serve what I'm needed for, what God wants from me. I could think that, and therefore I'm getting my vitality direct from God. That's the choice, which is an amazing way to empower ourselves to live that way. John, when did the Shekhinah leave the temple? The temple could not have been destroyed with the Shekhinah indwelling, could it? Yeah, exactly. Well, in the year 69 when the Romans came in, so that was the final, it's not so, one moment, just one moment. There is stages of it. Just think like, stages in someone who has been banished from a home, right? There's stages in it. It doesn't just, there's a stage when you finally walk out the front door, right? But there's things that led up to that. So the final is the destruction of the Second Holy Temple in the year 69. There's a earlier stage in the destruction of the First Holy Temple in the 5th century, or the 6th century before the Common Era, when the Babylonians destroyed and the Jews went into exile for 70 years in Babylonia and Iraq, Iran. So when it came back, the divine presence, it didn't come back in the same powerful way. That's why there wasn't the Ark of the Covenant and other things were lacking. It wasn't as powerful, the presence. And it began with the Garden of Eden. But that was for the whole world, the presence of God, right? The destruction of the Holy Temple was that the presence of God in the land of Israel. Thank you, John. Excellent question. Davida, when Mashiach comes, will we have no choice but to live a holy life? Oh, excellent question. So, seemingly according to this, when the divine presence, does that mean we have no more choice? Well, was there a choice when there was a divine presence in the Holy Temple? Yes, there was. You could still go against that presence of God. So the choice wasn't taken away. The difference is, though, in the times of the Holy Temple, there'll be choice between good and greater good, ultimately. And there's stages in that, too. And there's different people in that manner, too. So it's not, one size fit all. It's not. An excellent question. Are we accountable for our actions when we study Torah than we were before? Are we accountable? You mean when you know better, you're more accountable? Absolutely. A child isn't as accountable for their actions as an adult is. Adult has greater awareness, more maturity as a result, and knows better, or at least should, and therefore more accountable. So the same thing is, when you study Torah, you become more accountable because you know better. So who's more accountable, me or you? I would say I'm much more accountable. I've learned more. I know better. And therefore, as a result, sometimes even a small thing might be a big thing, which is an important idea to appreciate. John, did Adam and Chava receive energy from the second hay before their sin? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's exact. From Malchus, directly from, direct connection, direct holiness. Absolutely. Bella has a question, and Jennifer has a question. Okay. Are there certain situations in life that we don't have a choice? Yeah, you don't have a choice that when you're walking down the street that you're going to meet someone that you have a distaste towards. That you don't have a choice. How you respond to that person, you have a choice. Sometimes we lose our choice, though, like Pharaoh did. We sometimes lose our choice by doing something repeatedly, right? We lose our choice. That is true. So the situation God creates, the response in that situation is up to us. We're not a victim. Something I spoke about earlier. We're not a victim of the situation. Once you consider yourself a victim of the situation, then you're going to riot the streets, as in France, as burning down the cities in the States. I think it was last summer, or 2 summers ago. Right? Because you're a victim. No, you're not a victim. God creates a circumstance. You have the choice. Make the godly choice. Make the right choice. Rioting, anarchy, destroying. No, sorry. Inexcusable. Any commentator that makes an excuse for them is whatever. Jennifer, making the right, true decision and choices is usually pretty apparent. We know deep down what is right and wrong. If I think I'm making the right decision, the right choice, but after time, life reveals it was not. Yeah, sometimes, sometimes why are we making the choice? So now, and this is the key from today, make this your take home, that when you're making a choice, don't think, oh, it's my choice to do what I want. First of all, yeah, it is your choice. It's your choice only to where you're going to get your vitality from. Do I want to be connected directly to the divine or get from a negative source, from a negative place? That's the question that we should ask ourselves. Where do you want your vitality from? So now when you're making the choice, you're going to think, maybe that response that I was going to say is not getting vitality directly from God. Maybe it's getting it from Klippa. Maybe I'm getting it from Klippa right now. And therefore, I shouldn't do this, or say this, or even think this. If we think in that way, Jennifer, I think, we have a better chance to make the right choice in the beginning. Now, we're human, and we will fail. So we're going to discuss about that tomorrow, or our next class, in order that we can, still come around. Okay, but thank you, Jennifer. Excellent. How do we tell the difference in the future to make the better choice? Oh, so I think I just gave the answer to that question. All right. Amazing conversation. Fabringen, actually, this Fabringen. Our daily Fabringen here. Fabringen means a gathering, Hasidic gathering of arousing, empowering ourselves and each other through the words and the teachings of the Torah. Yeah. All right. Thank you. All. Rambam coming up. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Tzurich and Kedesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing, wonderful day and a good Shabbos. Be well.